The Vanishing Train. In the small, quiet town of Lindenbrook, nestled between rolling hills and thick forests, there was a peculiar legend that had been passed down through generations. It wasn't the kind of story that people talked about openly, but everyone knew about it, as if it were some unspoken truth. It was about the vanishing train. Years ago, a train was said to travel along the tracks that cut through the heart of the town, heading to a destination no one knew. The odd thing was, this train only appeared on the night of the full moon, and it always vanished before it reached the next station. People who had tried to board the train never returned, while others who saw it from a distance spoke of it as though it were no ordinary locomotive. The train's windows were dark, the steam was a strange shade of silver, and its whistle sounded like an echo from another time. Sarah, a young woman who had just moved to Lindenbrook, was captivated by this story. She was an outsider, new to the town, and she had heard the whispers in the local diner, at the market, and from the elderly folk who lived on the outskirts. But she didn't believe in ghosts or strange phenomena. She was a practical person, grounded in reality, or at least, she thought she was. One evening, during the full moon, Sarah decided to follow the trail herself. The train was supposed to appear at midnight, and she figured she would solve the mystery once and for all. With a sense of quiet determination, she made her way to the old train station, where the tracks lay abandoned, forgotten by most. As the clock struck midnight, a strange sound filled the air, a distant rumble, followed by a low whistle that seemed to hum in the very bones of the earth. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She could see it now, the train, slowly emerging from the mist. It gleamed silver, almost glowing in the moonlight. She stood frozen, mesmerized by its eerie beauty. Without thinking, she approached the train, walking along the platform as if drawn by an invisible force. She could feel the air around her growing thicker, colder. The train's doors opened with a soft creak, and without hesitation, Sarah stepped inside. The interior was unlike anything she had imagined. The seats were worn, yet they had a comforting, timeless quality. The train's motion was smooth, almost too smooth. It didn't seem to be moving at all. But the landscape outside the windows was changing, trees, hills, and houses fading into one another like a dream. It was as though time itself had been suspended. The train began to slow down, and as it reached the next station, Sarah saw something that made her blood run cold. There were no passengers waiting at the platform. The station was completely empty, save for a single figure standing in the shadows. It was an old man, wearing a long coat and a hat that shadowed his face. He stepped forward and nodded at Sarah, as if he had been expecting her. Without a word, he gestured to a door at the far end of the train. Sarah felt an inexplicable urge to follow him. She walked down the narrow aisle, passing rows of empty seats. As she reached the door, the old man turned and smiled faintly. "Not everyone is meant to leave," he said, his voice a soft whisper. "But you, Sarah, you have questions that need answering." Before Sarah could respond, the train jolted, and the world outside the window shifted again. The next moment, the train was gone. She woke up in her own bed the next morning, the sun shining through her window. It felt like any other day. Except for one thing, she wasn't sure if the events of last night had been real or just a dream. The town was quiet, unchanged, as though nothing had happened at all. But Sarah knew one thing for certain: the vanishing train was real, and one day, it would return for her again. The mysterious journey Sarah experienced became a whispered legend of Lindenbrook, and every full moon, the townsfolk would look toward the tracks with a mixture of fear and curiosity, wondering if the train would appear once more. And as for Sarah, she often found herself standing at the station, staring into the distance, waiting for the sound of the train's whistle to call her back into the unknown.